really come out and say nasty things. They didn't really do nasty things, but they sure as heck suggested it and put on a great show. So I can imagine that the folks who are in the demographic that these shows are targeting are probably the same way I felt about it back then. However, they do get a little raunchier now. You're allowed to do a lot of things on TV that you weren't before. So, and if that helps the story, if it helps the production, okay. But a lot of times it doesn't. But that's not really what I want to talk about on this. You know, there was that big satanic panic. Remember back in the 80s, early 80s, when all these, what was that group where Al Gore's wife had that group and they all went in front of Congress and stuff like that about the warning labels on records and things like that, which pretty much, by the way, ensured that a disgruntled teenager was going to buy it, right? So they kind of flipped backwards on themselves. Anytime it said a warning label about the lyrics, oh yeah, you can guarantee that's what I was looking for when I went to the record stores. Remember record stores? Those of you old enough that we had record stores, those things were great. You could flip through the vinyl records, big boxes of them. Check out the new covers of the new album that you're waiting for. Man, it was a big deal. Big deal. Now it's available for download. That's no fun. There's no event there. Back then, these kind of things, when someone released a record, was an event. Oh yeah, available for download today. Yeah, boring. Anyway, so the Grammys. They had that Sam Smith. He had that big thing with the satanic, undertones or whatever. But I want to talk about my friend Madonna. I've known Madonna for a long time, so I feel like we're kind of on first name or last name basis. She calls me Kelley, right? No, I don't know her. But I've got a soft spot in for the entertainers that were big during my adolescence. And Madonna was huge. I was more of a Sunset Strip rock and roll hairband guy. But there's no doubt that Madonna was a fierce talent. Big time talent. Sing, dance, act. Big time talent. A lot of hit records, big records. So she's on there. And there's a photo, a meme I saw from, and I'm going to bring this up. This is courtesy of Lauren Chen. Lauren Chen put this out. And for those who are watching this, you're seeing this meme. And it's got Madonna split screened with the puppet from Saw, the Saw horror flick series. And I got to tell you, there's a resemblance there. Those who are watching, you may know what I'm talking about. This picture's been around, making it around the circuit, about what Madonna has done to her face. Unrecognizable at this point. I think Madonna's in her early 60s, maybe approaching mid 60s. She's not much older than me, maybe 10, 12 years, but unrecognizable.
So they pulled a suppressor video I've had up, over 2.5 years ago or something silly like that, because it violated their standards. So it's just a constant target. So when you look at that, it's hard, Yep. Some people say, you start to see the swing, like Rumble starting to be more free speech, trying to go, hey, is that the next place to go? I don't know. I haven't seen anything on any gain on Twitter. Haven't quite figured out how to tweet.
Well, that's the thing. They got you by the balls and they know it, right? So like you said, is Rumble going to take off? What's the deal with Twitter or these other places? All this other stuff is already established. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all of that stuff. It took off, right? Those platforms do very well. And unfortunately, just like the entertainment industry or some of these other things, the other side has control of it. So how do you, to start new, and I know Trump was doing some stuff and whatever, that's great, but how do you get everyone to subscribe to that, to go there? How do you make it work, right? That's the step one, and we're not there yet.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I think the podcast genre, it's really exploded too. And for all those who are out there and you have a business, starting your own podcast is a great idea. There is plenty of room for all this stuff, but I got to tell you, most of my radio stuff that I listen to, besides On the Range podcast, is other podcasts. I listen to them all the time. Sirius has them. All the other major carriers and distributors of podcasts. It's just huge. True Crime's a big one. We listen to that all the time. So yeah, you coming on these shows and stuff like that. A lot of the folks that we have that show up at our classes say they heard of us from the podcast. So you have to keep attacking those other type of medias.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I'll look at my website. Me and Rick have the same website. I don't know, or web host. I don't know who you're using, but it gives you all the analytics. So I know like Google's my number one thing. Then it's direct to the website. So like word of mouth, stuff like that. Then believe it or not, Facebook, which I don't really post a lot on there. I'll like share whatever I do on Instagram to Facebook. So I was kind of surprised by that, but it tells you where everything is coming from. And it's like, all right, push more out on there, I guess. But like, do you waste time and do anything on the other platforms? Like do you do sponsored ads? I've done all of that stuff. And I've been getting a lot of traction from the sponsored ads, which I'm surprised because Instagram and Facebook and all that, they, like we've been saying, have shut you down. But I'll watch on the Wix site, like, yep, it's coming from your sponsored ad on Instagram or from Facebook or whatever. So the sponsored ads work and I'm getting people in the door, but it comes down to, Rick and I have talked about this before, and I'm sure you and I have talked about it too, Mark, is I don't want to sell sexy, right? But there is something to what you call your classes, the content you put out. And you could be the worst instructor in the world, have zero experience, but have great content, and people will sign up for your classes or buy your products. And the other way around, you could be the most experienced person in the world and not be able to put out, quality, entertaining content. Not that training is for entertainment, but and you won't get as much traction, if that makes sense.
Mm. But that's what it's turned into, Ken, right? Let's be an honest broker. They're really the platforms. It's kind of like if I put out a post or a reel that's educational, it tanks. Nothing, right? Stupid Monday funnies, a repost from somebody else will get all kinds of traction, right? So it's just a weird dynamic. If you sit there and go, hey man, here's your, tip of the day. People don't seem to care. It's kind of like they're looking for the I like to say entertainment, what's the sexy, flashy. Sorry, dude, that's not me.
Yeah. And that's another problem with the industry, right? It's like all of that sexy stuff and all of these, and I won't name anybody, but we've seen all the things that people teach and all these terms they come up with. And then you see dudes, very respected, people you've worked with, Rick, and people I respect, and I'm sure Mark respects, and they'll beat them up and they deserve it. But then if you set people straight for the sake of people's own safety, right? Cops, military, the armed civilian who need to be kind of guided in the right direction, say, hey, that's what you're seeing is cool to watch, but it's entertaining. It's not training, It's
Hello, everyone. Mark here from On the Range Podcast and Kelley Defense to talk about Manscaped. Support for today's episode is brought to you by Manscaped. So go to manscaped.com, use the promo code OTR20. Save yourself 20% and get free shipping. Manscaped is the world's leader in below the waistline grooming for men. So make sure you do yourself a favor. Ladies, you as well. Do yourself a favor and go to manscaped.com. Use the promo code OTR20. Save yourself 20% and get your man up to speed, level up his below the waistline grooming, and save yourself 20% and get free shipping by using the promo code OTR20. Again, manscaped.com, promo code OTR20.
Yes, he's your retired partner, right? Without a doubt. But again, we've talked about being careful about tying your identity to your position or your job. You definitely don't want to have that one where somehow that dog's tying you to whatever your past employment was. So just be careful on that one. So for us, we dropped him off Monday night. that point, I removed, whether you want to say Joe Duco's flag. Funeral home had a flag prepared for him, covered him, and told us he was going to be cremated Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock. So, okay. I opted to go back. Right. So all this is just are my calls. And this is the important thing I want you guys to understand. These are my decisions. Things that I needed to do for me, for my healing process. We actually went back, I think, a little bit early, probably a lot early. I don't remember the exact time we got there. But the beauty was the funeral home was in no rush. She was like, hey, take your time with them. Started petting his head. Still smelled like Duke, right? But he was cold. He was cold. We kind of took our last little bits. And when we were ready, we let him know. And we watched him and the flag he was draped in go into the crematorium.